My name is Peggy McGaugh. I am a resident of Carroll County. I was the Carroll County Clerk and the Election Authority for over 30 years here in Carroll County. I was able to run for election in a special election in February of 18. I replaced my son, who was the former representative for the 39th District. And I live here in Carrollton with my husband, David. We live on a farm. I have two children, Judge Joe Don McGaugh and Jocelyn McGaugh Blue, who lives in Kansas City, and three precious grandchildren, Nora Kate, Vivian, and Gemma Jolie. Well, I have the experience to continue to serve the rural values in Jefferson City. That is why I went there. That's what I ran on in the February election. I have stayed true to my word when I arrived in Jefferson City. I was appointed committees that allowed me to use my expertise in government. I was immediately placed on the local government committee. I met with a lot of people that came from the district that would describe their needs. Probably the best attribute that I currently have is listening to the constituents, because those are the people that we go to Jefferson City for. It's not a personal job. We go to represent the voice, and I feel like I have the experience and have proven myself that I can be the voice for the constituents in Ray, Carroll, and Sheraton counties. Well, first and foremost, I am a fiscal conservative, and the state of Missouri has been known to use some tax dollars perhaps considered unwisely. So I want to continue to be a steward of our tax dollars, and the waste, fraud, and abuse that is perceived, it needs to come to an end. My experience as being the county clerk in Carroll County allowed me to recognize abuse. Not that we ever had it in Carroll County, but I was recognized as the only county clerk in the state who received an excellent rating for an audit by the state auditor's office for the 2015 audit. So that's a fact I'm very proud of. Not many people can say that. I also believe that the number one spending priority in our state should be education. The education of our children, they're the future. We should always strive to provide them all with a world-class education. But we also need to hold the parents, the school districts, the boards, the administrators, and all the educators accountable. Because in doing so, we can ensure that these parties are given the resources necessary to accomplish these goals from the state. You ask about what people ask me about when I go around on constituent visits. And sometimes I feel like they've changed a bit since February. And that is, number one, we still need the jobs. And I'm doing my best to attract and retain quality jobs. I'm working with people who will attract business development. We need that all over the district, not just in certain areas. Most recently, I feel like there's a crisis, an ongoing crisis, that we're beginning to hear about, and some people in the rural area might not realize how crucial it is. But there's a drug crisis known as the opioid crisis. It's affecting nearly everybody in our district in some way. It's affecting the schools, it's affecting our cities, our communities, and it's also affecting our veterans. I've been apprised of the situation that we have veterans committing suicide at an alarming rate. And in many cases, it's because of alcoholism and the opioid crisis. So we must meet their needs as they did ours when they served our country. So I'm becoming very passionate in that area. Fundamentally, I'm opposed to big government. So that probably doesn't come as a surprise as a Republican. But we need to make our business environment more friendly and responsive to the businesses and entrepreneurs. If they have money to spend in our area, let's welcome them with open arms and do everything we can to make it easier for them, cutting out the red tape, letting them hire who they need to develop their business with. So the jobs component that I ran on the first time is still there. I'm working hard in trying to achieve that. Some of the other things that I support as a Republican is the Constitution, our Bill of Rights. The freedoms that our forefathers expounded, they still ring true today. We need to continue those guardrails, which include legislation and ideals, and in some ways we need to restrict our government. Sometimes we don't need new laws and new rule books for the local control. I believe school boards, water boards, judges, county commissioners, I think those individuals need the tools to do their work, and then the state needs to step back and let them do it. They were duly elected by their constituents, and they need to do the job that they were elected for. So I believe that the state can help, but the state and the federal government should also step back and let them do what's best for their communities. I live on a farm with my husband. I believe in the future of agriculture. We all know that agriculture is under attack by outside influences. And I went to Jefferson City, and I speak up when there are people that talk negatively about our way of life, and I will always do that because we have a great way of life if the government will stay out of our business so that we can have our cattle farms, we can have our row crops, we can have our small hobby farms, whatever we need without government interference. I did receive the exclusive endorsement from the Missouri Cattlemen's Association, having demonstrated my work to defend and advance agriculture in the state. Very proud of that. It's a great organization. We've been members for years. They come to Jefferson City a lot, and they are very paramount in keeping the way of life that we have now. So, in closing, I want to make sure that the sustainability of the economy in rural Missouri remains a priority. I think we can keep Missouri alive and well into the next decade if we're able to maintain rural jobs. We've got to watch out for ourselves. For too long, Missouri has given St. Louis and Kansas City the number one priority. So I want to continue to be a strong voice for the middle of Missouri, and that's us here in the 39th District, Ray, Carroll, and Sheridan counties.